Hello and welcome to The Wrap thanks to Coates. I'm Laura Spurway. I'm here with Kate McCarthy. And Kate, we have had some thrilling games to cap off round 7.
Yeah, we certainly have. It's been a few upsets in the round and some really close finishes if we think all the way back to Thursday night where we started the round and the Hawks got the job done against the Cats. And then obviously a huge Friday of footy with the public holiday for the men's grand final. Saturday, clean air for the men's grand final, and then a bumper day of football with plenty of milestones to be celebrated as well. The Swans just couldn't quite get the job done against the Crows. And I think that's where we're going to start, Laura.
It is, because what a day for Adelaide. It's a dream result for them on what is a big game, and we'll get to that in a second, but a frantic final quarter is what sealed it for them.
Yeah, it was. They were able to just, the moments that counted. And that's what the Adelaide Crows have been known for so far this season. We think back to last week, had to turn it all on in the fourth quarter and were able to do so. And they just held back a surging Sydney towards the end of the game to get the job done by 2 points. So impressive from them to be able to roll up the sleeves and get it done. But there was one player for the Swans that really stood out for me, and that was Laura Garner. So she had the 34 disposals, 13 tackles, 8 clearances and a goal, and she was pretty prolific for them. She's found a lot of the footy this season and has just continued on with that rich vein of form that we've been seeing from her. Her damage at stoppage was great, 8 clearances, but 13 tackles, an equal career high for Laura Garner, was really on display for her and hit the scoreboard as well, which is something that you want your midfielders to be doing, and has taken a game to another level this season.
Massive for her, but an even bigger game really for Ebony Marinoff. And we've been waiting for this moment. AFLW players hitting the 100, and she got some great celebrations today.
She sure did, and Maddie Gay surprised her Essendon player all the way over for this game. Obviously the custom T-shirts to celebrate, and this is a huge occasion. We love that they celebrated accordingly. One of the most decorated AFLW players, chaired off by Zoe Prowse and Courtney Cramey, who have been alongside Ebony for a long time. And then we switch our attention to Brighton Homes Arena, and this was happening at the exact same time. Laura Ali Anderson running out for her 100th game, hit the scoreboard as well, which was great to see. So just perfectly and well-deserved celebrations from both clubs. Emma Zielke, Bree Conan, 2 premiership captains of Ali Anderson, just cheering her off. And it's something we've been waiting for quite some time now, 10 seasons to be exact. And it's great that these women are getting the credits that they deserve and getting the 100-game milestone.
Yeah, and so special to have 2 in a weekend as well. And let's get to that game because, well, the Lions were up against it early with the Tigers showing some grit, but in the end, pressure just too good.
Yeah, their pressure was relentless for the Lions. They really blitzed Richmond in the second half. They'd only scored the 1 goal 6 to half time and ended up kicking 6 goals 6 to Richmond's 1 goal in the second half. But they were relentless. They laid 19 tackles inside their forward 50, and they just peppered the Tigers. Anytime they got the ball, they had no time and space and just set upon them in numbers. So a really good display from the Lions to get the 34-point win over the Tigers, who the pain just continues for them, still scoreless. So Richmond, they're going to have to find something in the next couple of weeks to try and get some wins on the board and get something out of this season.
Yeah, it's discouraging for them, isn't it? But look, speaking of second halves, let's go to Moorabbin, where you were lucky enough to be this afternoon, Kate, because what a show this was. The greatest 3-quarter comeback in AFLW history by the Saints. Well,
what is it with St Kilda and 3-quarter time comebacks? There's something at the club. They were down by 27 points at 3-quarter time. It was a bit of a clinic from Jessie Wardlaw. We see a couple of these marks that she's taken, a beautiful delivery from some of her teammates. Nicola Barr there, just putting it out to the advantage of Wardlaw, getting it done. So that was link up between mids and forwards. But this is just a pure clunk from a key forward. Comes across the front of the pack, takes the grab, goes back. That's her 3rd consecutive goal in this final term. And then you've got Georgia Patrikios, way too good not to make the most of that opportunity. And then a really nice finish from Amber Clark. So if you were counting, that was 6 goals to the Saints in the final term. No goals from Port Adelaide, so they chased down that elusive target. 27 points, though. That's a massive comeback. T. Smith was fantastic. She continued her great season, 24 disposals, 11 tackles and 5 clearances. And Ash Richards, 20 disposals, 8 tackles and 4 clearances. But the Saints will be sweating on some scan results for Ash Richards because she didn't finish the game, rolled her ankle, ended up on crutches post-match as well. And she's been someone over the last month has really helped to turn this season around for the Saints. So big injury watch there.
Yeah, and look, Port with those fourth quarters for me is something else to come out of this game because we've seen that they've been ahead in quite a few matches and just haven't been able to get it done.
Yeah, they've faded out of a few games this season. Just their consistency through games, I think, is the area that Lauren Arnell will be wanting to improve. We've heard her speak about it many times during the season that they're not playing their best for long enough. And today, for a couple of quarters, they were showing some really great football. But younger sides, when you're still learning your process, you need to learn how to wrestle back momentum in quarters and not take till the break to work it out. So that's where too for Port, being able to wrestle back momentum and play your game plan for longer than the opposition.
Well, let's get to the West now where, they had to swing some late changes over there, didn't they? Illness swept through the Eagles camp. They had to bring in a top-up player and they still had a good win over the Giants.
Yeah, and it was this point here where Izzy Huntington kicked her second of the game, where you thought in the third quarter, geez, this is starting to turn around and the Eagles are going to be under the pump. But they had the steadying ship, the first goal through Kelly Gibson, were able to hit the scoreboard, and then Dana Hooker went back and slotted one. And LeKay also got on the end of one to kick another goal. So steady the ship, went into three-quarter time, and then ultimately were able to run out 42-point victors. So it was looking shaky at a point through that third term, but once they were challenged, they had the answers, and Daisy Pearce would be nothing but pleased, considering what you mentioned off the top, Laura, the late changes. They had Lisa Steen had to come in, who's actually a top-up player, not on their primary list, to play this game. It looked like she was added as emergency, and then she actually ended up having to play with Roxy Rue and Ali Drennan also out as late changes. So the fact that they got away with the 4 points after a huge week with illness coming through the camp, that is a big tick in the box for Daisy Pearce and her West Coast Eagles.
Yeah, 42 points up. Not bad for percentage either. Now, if we go to the Whitten Oval, this was another big win for the Doggies. Got the job done over Collingwood by 57 points. And Kate, you called it. Ellie Blackburn back in the middle and she delivers. And she is our Coates player of the round.
Yeah, I love what I saw from Ellie Blackburn on Friday night at the Kennel. Just being able to do things like this, 25 disposals, 6 marks, 8 score involvements, and a career high 4 goals. But it's interesting because she's played a lot of this season sitting as a forward, and the benefits that she gets through the midfield with clearance numbers, but also hitting the scoreboard. And it's because of her ability to spread. She's such a smart footballer. She can start in and around contest, but then still beat her opponent back towards goal. And this was a beautiful finish, and I love the celebration, putting the Pies to sleep.
Good night.
But yeah, loved what I saw and loved that she spent more time in and around the midfield. But two other players that were absolutely dominant in and around the midfield for the Western Bulldogs was Izzy Pritchard and Alice Edmonds, their ruck. And I just want to highlight their combination. Alice Edmonds leading all comers for hit-outs this season, and we started to really see the dominance as a result of that through the midfield as well. And Pritchard has been such a great mid, and that's why I love Ellie Blackburn through this midfield, because she does things like that. She can get the grunt work done in and under. Then Pritchard and Fitzgerald can start to reap the benefits of getting the ball out into more space. So Edmonds finished with 18 disposals, 36 hit-outs in a dominant display. Look at that. That is beautiful chemistry between a ruck and a mid. Pritchard finished with 33 disposals, 12 contested possessions, and 11 clearances. And Collingwood, their midfield got owned in that game, to be blunt about it. And that's the area of the game or area of the ground where they probably have their most experienced players. So Sam Wright, we've seen massive improvements from the Pies over the last few weeks. This one sort of set them back a little bit and just shows that even if you are building and you're a young team, you still need to turn up across all 3 lines. So the leading possession getters for the Pies at halftime were all defenders because of how much heat was being put on them out of clearance, and clearance dominance from the Dogs, plus 17 in that area.
Well, if we're looking at defenders, let's look at the Blues now at Icon Park and their game against Freo. And Harriet Cordner again, rock solid down back.
Yeah, I love the season that Harriet Cordner is putting together. She's been in the All-Australian squad twice, and I feel like this could be the year for her. She is in All-Australian form for mine. She took 20 disposals, 9 marks, 15 intercept possessions, 388 metres gained. So it's not just what she did behind the footy, but then to be able to really springboard and get the Blues into attack on the back of it. having a look at this, a lot of these are genuine one-on-ones where she's just been able to beat her opponent or fly, and then her ability to use the ball as well coming out of that defensive 50 was nothing but impressive. But it was the Carlton defenders that got the job done. 23 intercept marks to Fremantle's 11, all on the back, a lot of Harriet Corder in her display.
9 points, the victory in the end for the Blues. So if we go to Windy Hill now, and it lived up to its name in the first quarter where we thought we might get a massive upset here. The Bombers were ahead, 20 points at the main break, but we should know better, shouldn't we?
Yeah, well, North just did a stall gift. They just gave the other team a handicap and said, we'll run you down. But they were scoreless till quarter time. They still scored 71 points in 3 quarters of football, Laura. That is how dominant this team is at the moment in front of the scoreboard. They averaged 75 points per game in 2025. So they've been so impressive. I mean, you got to give credit to Essendon as well. Their ability to compete really hard. They've had a couple of pretty bad weeks, Essendon, not being able to score, being dominated by teams, but they shook that off and competed well with North, who are just showing each week why they are far and away head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. I'm running out of ways to describe how good North are. So impressive that they were still able to get that. Positives for them, Emma King, who we saw in that display, kicked a goal, had her first game of the match. So great for her to get back in the team and have some impact as well.
It is an embarrassment of riches, isn't it, in that North midfield. And we talk so often about Jazz Garner and Ash Riddell and taking votes off each other, or just having all of the votes, really. How do you split them?
Yeah, well, there'll be a lot of conversation around come best and fairest night, either for the Roos and for the league.
Yep.
Who's going to get the most votes? And I thought, well, we're sort of just over halfway through the season. Let's do a little bit of comparison of the two. Obviously, Ash Riddell's disposal numbers have been through the roof. Jazz Garner still up around those 24 disposals, but Garner spending more time between the mid and the forward. So she's having more impact in front of the footy with goals and score assists, whereas Riddell getting her hands on the footy more. Clearances, pretty similar considering they're split in disposals and the time that Riddell's probably spending a little bit more forward. And then if we have a look at some other key metrics that we look at, contested possessions, uncontested possessions, clearly where Ash Riddell is doing all of the damage to teams. Her ability to win it in tight, but then spread from there and get the uncontested possessions as well. Score involvement's relatively even, and same with tackles. So good luck working out which one of those is going to get the 2s and 3s each week as we go. But there's something else that caught my eye when it comes to best and fairest voting. And if we have a look at Jazz Garner, I just want to have a look at this picture. Does anything stick out to you, Laura, as a footy watcher?
Well, she's very coordinated.
Yeah, she is. For me, I saw that and thought, why is Jazz Garner, one of the best players in the competition, wearing career savers? Career savers are for people like me who were on the out and needed something to keep their body together. And I thought maybe post-ankle injury this season, she got back in a week.
Yep.
Maybe it was the career savers that she switched to. Nope. She loves the career savers, has stayed with them her whole career. And then I look back at this, the league best and fairest winners over the past few years, they are all wearing fluoro boots. Flashy and obnoxious. That's why Jazz Garner can't get any best and fairest votes.
Be more obnoxious.
We need her to be more obnoxious. We need her to maybe wear a long sleeve. Maybe just, if you love the career savers so much, I'm sure ASICS could maybe hook you up with a pair of fluoro career savers, Jazz. And you might finally get the 3 votes like you deserve. I reckon that's where it's gone wrong for Jazz.
Kate walks in here next week with a whole bunch of ASICs waiting for it. Nice one, Kate. Well done. Oh, dear. Well, speaking of dominance, demolition. We're going to call it a demolition at Casey Fields because, 87 points they beat the Suns by. It's grim. And
it started with this one from Fitzsimons, a goal in 25 seconds, if you don't mind. It was on from the first siren, and this is a frightening prospect for anyone in the game. 1 out with Alyssa Bannon with the ball trickling towards goal because she can do things like this. Stop on a dime, open up the face of goal and slot a beautiful goal. But it was Melbourne's forwards that were just firing. Kate Hoare, 20 disposals, 9 clearances, 2 goals, 3. She could have had a day out at Casey Fields, but yeah, they were dominant. Fitzsimons ended with 21 disposals and 15 tackles, which was a career best performance in my eyes for Megan Fitzsimons. She was fantastic. So the pain just continued for Gold Coast, though. An 87-point defeat to Melbourne and couldn't actually kick a goal, 6 behind straight.
And just can't escape the injury concerns, can they? They've had more in this game as well. Claudia Whitford was one of them.
Yeah, this one was a really bad one for Whitford. Looked distraught down in the rooms with a hammy, didn't take any further part. Clara Fitzpatrick, a hand injury. She's brave, though. I wouldn't think this would keep her out for too long. And then a knock to Jack Dupé, who we're still waiting on hearing whether it was concussion protocols that were done with her, and then Tay Oliver, another one late in the game who didn't come back. So waiting on the injury report to see if they actually did have, obviously late in the game, you don't normally get the update because there's no point in conducting a scat straight away because they're going to miss the 20 minutes, which there's not to go with the game. But their injury list just continues to grow there, and you have to feel a little bit for them with the names that they've got on the sideline. Charlie Rowbottom still looks to me to be toughing it out through a pretty nasty AC joint injury, and when you're an in and under midfielder, the knocks that you get during a game to that can be very detrimental to that. So they need to find something quickly, the Suns.
Well, I'll tell you who found something, the Hawks at GMHBA Stadium, and they have ended the winning streak that the Cats had, and this brings us to Educate.
Yeah, it does. So let's have a look at Georgie Prasparkas, because I loved her first half performance on Friday night. Thursday night it was, that long ago. I can't remember what day it is. Georgie Prasparkas, her ability to get the ball from inside to out in the first half was extremely damaging. Look at this, just dropping out the back of stoppage, being able to get some free space, get the handballs on the outside. Her metres gained is the thing that really damages you. She's able to get it from inside to out, do things like this, get back on the end of it, and then this from clearance. This is prolific from Georgie Prasparkas, who I think is one of the best players in the competition currently. But Hawthorn, they had the answers in the second half. They just paid far more attention to her at stoppage. Emily Bates went to her in the first centre bounce clearance from the halftime break, showed that she was going to be physical with her. It wasn't a direct run with roll, but you could see at every stoppage from then on, a player had an arm across her. Sometimes it was Wales after the ruck tap went to her if she saw it on her own. It was a really good plan from Hawthorn in the second half to take something away from Geelong, which then helped them get the ascendancy. And if we have a look at the numbers from the first half to the second half, disposals relatively even, contested possession, she had to work really hard to find the footy, 7 of 10 contested, but the uncontested possession was what they stopped. 11 uncontested possessions to 4. 4 score involvements to 2, yes, that's a tick, but the metres gained as well. 218 to 96, being able to reduce that down gave Hawthorn the ascendancy and put them a long way towards winning that game. So if you're coming up against Georgie Prasparkas in the next few weeks, you certainly want to put some time into her because, as I said earlier, I think she's one of the best midfielders or players in the comp at the moment.
I agree with you. Now, we've been waiting for this, Kate. It is our new segment here on The Wrap. It is called the Vibe Check.
Well, the vibe check. So it's a bit of a temperature test. It's the way that we're going to assess what teams are looking like throughout the season. So starting at the top, straight fire, obviously the Ds and the Roos. The Roos could probably have a category of their own, which is just somewhere off the page to the far right. And then we've got the good vibes. So a few teams starting to get their game plan going. St Kilda, 3 in a row for them. Hawks still playing probably not their best footy, but who cares when your wins and loss columns looks like the Hawks. Carlton, impressive. The one team that's in there, though, Laura, that didn't get a win this weekend is the Pies, and you might think that's a bit confusing considering what I said earlier. I think a young team, you can have your ebbs and flows in momentum. They've got the Eagles this week, then the Saints and Richmond. I think if they can go back to their form of a couple of weeks ago, we start to see them hit the wins and loss column a little bit better. Low-key off, I'm not sure. I think Fremantle, I was expecting to see a lot more from them this season. They've had games where they've dominated parts of the game and haven't been able to get it done week in, week out. The Swans probably a little bit unlucky to be in there considering they only went down by 2 points to the Crows, but that's their third loss in a row. And their next 3 games, North, Carlton and Melbourne. So they need to get out of low-key off if they want to win those.
Get out of low-key off.
And not vibing, unfortunately. It's been a tough season for both the Suns and the Tigers. The Tigers still looking for their first win of the season.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's been some players vibing this round with Snoop Dogg in town. The Cellies have been getting a run with a nod to Snoop.
Yeah, they have. And I don't know if there's trademark on Cellies, but if we saw this was yesterday, Snoop performing. Charlie Cameron enjoyed it as well. But then we had the AFLW flavour of it. Courtney Hodder slotted this one. Had a little bit of a you-know-what. And then the vibe check, getting that going from Snoop Dogg. And then also this one, Jessie Wardlaw.
There
so
she goes.
They are vibing. We love that. We love Cellies and we love the Snoop Dogg inspired celebrations as well. How good was he on Saturday?
Oh, look, I loved it. And I saw you rapping along. I know you loved it too.
I thought it was great. I thought, he's just someone that he oozes vibe. He's very cool. It was a great performance. Loved the pre-game performance from Snoop Dogg.
Well, that is the wrap for round 7. If you can believe it, we're heading into round 8. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.